Welcome, Aquarius. So today I decided to ask for a message from Spirit. And what I saw on the pre-shuffle was so cool and interesting. I didn't want to overanalyze it too much because I want to enjoy figuring out what it is with you. So let's just get started. What I do know is that this is a very personal spiritual message from Spirit to you. I believe it has something to do with time, okay? In a very, very general way, but the message is not general. It's really cool and specific, okay? And how to, okay, no, I'm not going to say anything else. Okay, so 2 more, and then we'll do 4 soft shuffles, and then we'll get started. 1 more. Yeah, it does have something to do with time. Passage of time. I just saw when I glanced over at the screen and saw 1, 1, 1. Okay, and 4, it does have something to do with time and speed. And look at the star there. Anyway, okay. In 4, please. In 3, please. Thank you, Spirit. In 2, please. And in 1. Where do we start? Where does this start, Spirit? Where do we start? Wow. Wow. Okay. All right, so there's a very strong, confident message, urgent message here from Spirit to you. And I think it can be best expressed by using a quote from a man named Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote a book in the 1950s called The Power of Positive Thought or Positive Thinking. So Spirit is pointing at this person, okay? And look the sword. Look at the swords. This person thinks that they have a whole lot of problems. Maybe they think money is their problem, or a relationship gone wrong, or when is a relationship going to come in. There's really only one problem that person has, and that is their attitude, their mind, what they're allowing to go through their head. That person is in mental turmoil. Their mind is racing. How am I going to pay this bill? What am I going to do if such and such happens? I can't handle it if such and such happens. Oh, I just know what's going to happen. Am I going to win? Mental turmoil. It's like your mind, if it is not checked by your heart and your soul and your faith that you are supposed to be placing at all times in Spirit, that mind, if it is not checked by those other things, it's like a person, like a 6-year-old driving a powerful high-performance race car, and it can spin out of control and crash. Now come now. I bet most of you can drive a high-performance car. But what you're doing right now is akin, or what somebody is doing anyway, is akin to getting in a high-performance, race car and flipping the wheel and not getting control of the vehicle. If you allow your mind, that race, that dialogue that just keeps going and going and going, you allow worry and stress and all that kind of what if this and what if that and what if I go to jail, or what if I get caught, or what if the cancer doesn't go, what if you allow that to get out of control, you might as well go out into the backyard and dig your own grave right now. Now let me give you the quote. No matter how dark things seem to be, or actually are, raise your sights and see the possibilities. Always see them, for they are always there. End of quote. That's a quote from Norman Vincent Peale. And it's funny that we're looking at this right now because I decided to download that. I've read it probably about 25 times, and I've given away all 25 copies of that book probably in the past 30 years of my life, because it's a gift. When I, give somebody a book, I want them to keep it, to read it, to have it. But that book, so I decided to download it on Audible and began to listen to it, and a flood of these incredible skills that I haven't been using lately, that I just complacently thought that I was handling. No, you have to practice gearing your mind back into positivity. And one other thing, for those of you who think, well, no, come on now, Bella, you got to be realistic. You got to think about your problems. You have to think about the worst. Actually, no. You can do your homework, obviously, and prepare make a plan. But after that, after you've assessed the situation, if you continue to allow that mind to send you into this despair and worry and anxiety, you are actually unwittingly, or willfully, now that you're listening to this and know this, you are driving yourself off a cliff. You might as well. Why? Because it is now actual science, actual physics, hardcore science that tells us, as of 2021 anyway, 9 world-renowned physicists, absolutely no doubt about it, that your thoughts have an impact on what physically manifests. It has to do with physics and the quantum field, and what we now know about the electromagnetivity and what that emanates out into, and how it impacts what manifests. So what's interesting about this book that was written back in the 1950s, way before we had any kind of knowledge about the quantum field that went that far, just download that book and listen to it, because Mr. Peale says that he is certain that if you allow this to happen, that you're not only are you missing out on creating a positive outcome for yourself, but you are most certainly creating a negative one for yourself. So there is a second message here from Spirit. Apart from that, I'm here, says Spirit. There is nothing that I can't do for you. All right? There is nothing that is impossible for Spirit to forgive. There's no outcome that is impossible for Spirit to create. Where are you, Aquarius? Spirit says. Just put your faith in me. Talk to me. Believe that I can do this for you. Believe in me. That's what Spirit is saying here. Let's keep going. On that note, some tarot symbolism here for you, because I know a lot of you read tarot. This person, according to traditional Rider-Waite symbolism, actual symbolism here, Mr. Waite said before he died that this person only has to do one thing to get themselves out of this situation. They need to look at the red roses on the blanket. Do you see the red roses? And that brings them back to the red roses in the card of the magician. What significance is that? Well, the magician, as you will recall, manifests. In other words, the magician comes up with something in his or her head, a plan, a blueprint that you can't see or touch or feel because it's not here yet. It's not in this 3D yet, but it is right now in the quantum field. Unfortunately, if it's in the quantum field, we can't, our five senses, our rinky-dinky five senses cannot pick up on it because our five senses are limited to low vibrations. But the outcome that you want, the outcome that you think you can't have, or the negative outcome that you're worrying about, you got to get your mind off that, by the way, because remember, what you think about expands. What you think about manifests. That is why you really cannot afford the luxury of one negative thought. Anyway, I digress. The red roses in the magician's card are supposed to be, well, as they say, red roses are relatively difficult to cultivate. It's easy for the magician, though. So he is able to, or she is able to manifest how? Changing their mind. That's all. That's all. I was speaking to a client, actually just yesterday, a male client, who thought that his world had ended because his wife is seeing another man and has left him and is spending all his money and has some kind of gambling problem or something. And then we sat down and made a list. The young man was good looking. He had 2 arms, 2 legs, a job, 2 children that loved him. And the list went on and on and on. 99% of the male population would trade places with him in a heartbeat. And when he walked out of here, he had this freeing thing. He was all excited. He had a plan. Change of mind. That's it. Let's keep going. Now, Aquarius, this could be that could be your person or someone around you. So this message, it may be for you in order to help somebody else. You get the idea. Don't be insulted if this is something that you don't need to hear, but it could be something that you need to. Yeah. Wow. 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 What a powerful message. Here we have the chariot, Aquarius. I am going to read you a quote. This comes from a fairly ancient Jewish, well really it's a Hebrew text called the Bhagavad Gita. The higher, this self, the self, when I say this here, what Spirit is referring to is the higher self, okay? So not us out of control, that your true self, all right? The self is the rider in the chariot, of which the body the horses are the senses, and the mind is the reins. Hang on, I gotta pause the tape and look that up. I used to know that off heart. 1 second, Aqua, I gotta get you the exact quote. I was close. The self is the rider in the chariot of the body, in which the horses are the senses and the mind is the reins. Now, according to Arthur Edward Waite, do you know why there are now we've got sphinxes and not horses here, but do you see any reins? No. And Waite, before he died, who created this deck, He said the reins are not needed. Do you know why? Because reins normally would, control the horses, put the direction, that steer the horse into a certain direction. No, they're not needed because this person in this chariot is so good at using their mind. They are able to control the direction of the horses with their mind. So that is how powerful your mind is. That is how important it is that you get your thoughts under control. Now there's two other very massive, there's just a ton of things flooding in here. I just want to say something very general about this card before I mention the other really cool thing that Spirit is about to tell you. So there's a double-barreled message here from Spirit. Number one is the very straightforward message about this chariot and what we've been talking about, getting control of your thoughts. The chariot represents finding the balance between the heart and the mind. Put any worries aside and maintain your focus. I mean, what I decided to do there was just, I just Googled the most general interpretation of that card. And if you don't believe me, just Google it, meaning of the chariot. Over and over and over. Pretty much any source will agree that it has to do with knowing. If you focus your mind, if you are determined and be confident, put your worries aside, you will be victorious. So that's the part about getting control over your thoughts and maintaining your confidence. But here's the message from Spirit about this card. Again, put your faith in me, Aquarius, Spirit says. Nothing is impossible. If you feel that you can't do this, get me to do it for you. Just know, if you feel you can't do this, ask me to do it for you, and please have faith that I can bring about this result for you. Just a mustard seed of faith is all Spirit is asking you to have. Now, there's something else coming out here, and it really is relevant. Just noticed something. So for all of the Jewish friends out there, or people who love Judaism, and some of you have mentioned the 12 tribes of Israel. There are 12. I'm just going to count them just to make sure I'm right about this, because this card, Spirit is about to discuss something that looked very dire for Moses once, all right? It was, in fact, when Moses was leading the Israelites out of Egypt. There was a very, very nasty Pharaoh that was chasing the Jews. Now, as you know, they were pretty much slaves. They were treated terribly by the Egyptians. I mean, it was huge amount of discrimination. Slavery was terrible. The way that the Israel, well, they called them Canaanites back then, but anyway, what later became the Israelites, they were treated like slaves. In fact, they were actual slaves to this Egyptian Pharaoh. Now, when Moses was guided to lead the Jews, get them out of Egypt and bring them into Jerusalem, just get them away from the total control that they were under, and they were being beaten and tortured, and it was terrible what was going on. Anyway, so they were actually being, I believe that the historical references regarding the Red Sea parting I mean, it is believed that this pharaoh had up to 600 chariots. The best army, the best. It was. It looked like an absolute, total, no hope situation. And Moses somehow was strongly guided to bring them toward the edge of this sea, which didn't. I mean, obviously, it seemed highly counterintuitive. There are some texts, religious texts, that some people believe, some theologians believe that he was trying to confuse the Egyptians, and that he didn't mean actually to go to the edge of the sea. But in any case, now you're thinking to yourself, yeah, but the Red Sea parting, come on, that didn't actually happen. Well, actually, why don't you Google it? The Red Sea parting. Have you Googled that lately? And make sure you also include in your search terms wind set down. Because guess what? There are scientists who now believe that it did actually happen. It is a scientific phenomenon. It's called a wind set down, that actually can cause an entire body of water to clear out, and then to come back in. It has, and all of the accounts of what happened at the Red Sea parting were extremely high winds. It is exactly the circumstances that take place during a wind set down. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because, as you can see, nothing is impossible. You can't say, oh, well, I'll never be able, I can't win the lottery tomorrow. Look, nothing is impossible. You allow that logical mind of yours to tell you what's going to happen, what's likely to happen, what's probable, what's likely. Just go ahead and let that run the show and see where it gets you. It is a daily struggle to remain positive, but it requires discipline. Do whatever it takes to do that. There are a lot of books out there that are very helpful. How to stop worrying and start living, manifest your destiny. I mean, I'm always recommending these books to you guys. Hopefully some of you are getting them, because the skills, for the 3 hours that it might take you to read, and the incredible metamorphosis it will have upon your life, it's really worth it. Now, one last thing about poor old Moses and what he said, because you see, as everything was looking totally hopeless, and we have a bunch of Jews backed up against the Red Sea and 600 chariots coming toward them looking like hell, right? Well, some of them began to turn on Moses and cry and scream, and why did you make us leave Egypt? At least back there we could have died in our homes. Now we're going to die here. Now, here's what Spirit told Moses to tell them. For those of you who, I know a lot of you have your Bibles out all the time, or I don't know where this would be in the Quran, but I know that Moses is a big deal in the Quran. So this would be in the 5 books of Moses. It's mentioned a number of times in the Old Testament. Specifically, I'm reading from Exodus 14:13 to 22. Here's what Moses said. Fear ye not, stand still and see your salvation to come. He will show you today. These Egyptians who you see today, you will never see them again. The Lord shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. In other words, he told them to shut the hell up. And sure enough, and then now I want to show you something really interesting. What are we looking at here? It's right next to the 9 of Cups. What comes before the 9 of Cups? The 8 of Cups. Give me a moment. I just want to show you something very cute. So what's really cute, there's the Nine of Cups. Right before the Nine of Cups comes the Eight of Cups. And do you know that according to the pictorial, actually I don't know where I learned this. I'm not sure if it's in the 1909 pictorial key to tarot, but this, have a look at the staff. Guess who Arthur Edward Waite was referring to in this card? Moses and the Red Sea parting. So with this positive mental control and positive mental thought, we go from the 8 to the 9. All right, let's keep going. Fascinating reading. Can't wait to see what we have next. Show me more, please, Spirit. This is amazing. Thank you so much. Hopefully I can get this right. Wow. Well, this is a little story about Moses and how he came to still be alive at that point. When he was a little baby, you probably already know this, there was another evil Egyptian king that was reigning. Do you see how evil? Look at his fist. And he hated the Jews. He hated them. His fear was that they were growing, and they were, even the women, in fact, that part of this story is about the Jewish women. This evil Pharaoh was afraid that the Jewish people were growing in numbers, and they were popular, and they were good people. And so what he wanted to do was he wanted to make sure that they didn't grow in population. So first, he made an order for all midwives in Egypt, if they were assisting a Hebrew lady, a Jewish lady, and she had a boy, that they were to kill the boys. And do you know that even the Egyptian midwives refused to do it? But do you know why? Now I remember reading this somewhere. It would take me too long to find the reference, but you can look it up. What if you find a biblical text that is old enough so that it gets the original meaning? There was something in the scriptures about, they said that these women, the Jewish women, the Hebrew women, are not like the Egyptian women. They are lively. So the midwives were unable to kill the male babies. So then a second order was made. This evil king then just ordered the others to round up the baby boys and to drown them. And so, of course, Moses, as you know, was somehow his mother managed to save him, and it was put in this little basket, floated down the river. And guess who saved little Moses? The daughter of the evil. This was the Pharaoh's, this was the daughter of this crazy evil man. And she, along with Moses' sister, who was waiting in the reeds, she saved Moses. And it was in fact Moses' sister that was ingenious, because she pretended that she was just watching, and she said, "Would you like me to find you a nanny, someone who can care for him secretly?" And of course she went back and got Moses' mother. So Moses' mother pretended to be a nanny. But that somebody defended Moses. Now, before the Red Sea parting, Moses, watched a Hebrew man being beaten by an Egyptian. And he looked one way and he looked another, and he went in, and of course he killed the Egyptian. And then when people started finding out about it, he fled. That's when he disappeared for 40 years. This was prior to the Red Sea, because he was worried that he was either going to get arrested or put to death, but he never was. And he always felt himself, he had to hide out, and he thought that he was a terrible person, because of that. And there was, as you know, a very long dialogue between Spirit and Moses, that he had to stop judging himself and that he was the one, who was going to save the Jews. Anyway, what else do we have? In other words, all things are possible. All right, what do we have here? This is interesting. Wow. Okay. I've got a ringing in my right ear. Well, let's just continue on with the story. So Moses was successful in leading the Israelites out of Egypt, and fast forward around about 400 years later, they were well settled in Jerusalem. And there were two important kings. One of them was King David, who wanted to build a temple. This is a temple. This is someone discussing plans to build. But David, King David, he was a little bit impetuous. He used to fly off the handle a little, and there was concern over the fact that King David was, he liked to go to war. He was a very good warrior, and so Spirit said, no, your son is going to be a king as well, your son Solomon. And King Solomon is the one that I want to build the temple, because your son is peaceful. And that's exactly what happened. Now, over here, I can't help but adding, do you see that piece of paper that they're looking at? These are plans. If you look very closely, you see the little 3 on the piece of paper, sorry, that it looks exactly like the temple. So what's the message there? You create your plan in your mind of what you want to do. You write it down, and this is the seal of great work done together. It shall be done. Put a flashlight right on that plan. Start planning, Aquarius. All right, this can be done. Great work can be done. But put aside the paranoia, put aside the worry. The other thing as well is that King Solomon had a hell of a time building the temple, because there were other religious leaders. King Solomon wasn't a religious leader, but the high priests were really uncomfortable about the temple that King Solomon was building. But, he was determined, and he won them over finally, and built that beautiful temple that stood for around about 400 or 500 years. The temple lasted, and then there was, Jerusalem was again attacked. The Jews were always being attacked, and the temple was torn down. It was rebuilt the second time. When Jesus of Nazareth was born, that the first temple had been torn down. Jesus of Nazareth was in the era of the second temple, all right? So it can be done. It can be done. But also, remember to maintain your peace of mind. Need to, wherever you do your worshiping or your communing, maybe you just do it at home. It doesn't matter where you do it. Mostly in your mind is where you need to do it. And remember to bring your mind back to a place of peace. Let's keep going. I feel like I might have missed something there, but anyway, let's get one more split, okay? I didn't realize how long this reading was getting. Show me more, please, Spirit. Show me more. Yeah, I know what I'm missing. It's okay. So I'm going to give you a quote from King Solomon. All right. So there's two different energies here. This can be someone who is angry or who wants to conquer territory or take over a city or something. And here's happiness. Somebody who is focused on spirit. This is a direct quote from King Solomon. Whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. So, you know, it takes a busload of faith to get by, I realize, but you want to maintain control over your thoughts and your emotions. And wow, can you ever do this? Yeah, can you ever do this? Now this is about time. This is about time. There's the past. And somebody is looking very worried here. I'm wondering, should I step forward? Is it now? What? Maybe I came. You know, this person is very worried, and they're looking at the past. You know, somebody, you could be stressed about the past or worried about the past, but there is something very important about keeping your mind focused on the present moment, because the present moment is so rich in substance. We'll miss it. It's like eating half your dinner if you're not fully focused on the present moment and your energies are scattered all over the place. Then you're in this perpetual state of never being able, you know, to enjoy the present moment. So if you could think of, you know, this, each and every moment, you can find a way of finding that each and every moment is sweet and pleasurable, beautiful, but you must be focused on the present. And what does that mean? It means subtracting the guilt, the worry, and the anxiety of the past and the future. Show me one more, please. Sorry, boy. Oops. There's the future. This could be the temple, by the way, or that could be a ruling king. This is interesting. Well, actually, there are 3 different things going on here. Somebody is not speaking here. There's a relative silence going on, someone maintaining control. Over here, someone is waiting or looking forward to a future. Ships are coming in. Over here, someone is obviously taking action. I think I know what this is. Show me more. So these are, you know, 3 completely different energies. It certainly would be impossible to do all of those things at the one time. There's somebody moving onward. This could be a moving up or a return. In this card, this person feels that it's time to move forward because the water here has become stagnant, so they're in search of fresher water. There's a time, even though these cups were standing, they've decided that it's time to move forward. Show me more. Wow. Okay. I think I know just what goes along with this. By the way, this is the ultimate manifester. And we're back here to where we started. Here's the magician. I think this is the end of the reading. There's the red roses. There they are. How has this person, they haven't used any of these tools that most of us use to work, toil away. No, this person has simply manifested these things through the use of the mind. As above, and really that means in the quantum field, so below, and that means here in the manifest. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. See the pointing to the earth, as it is in heaven, which actually is the mind in the quantum field. In other words, you can manifest on earth what it is in the quantum field here. Now, there is something about timing here. There is something about timing. And I believe this is King Solomon. And there is an incredible quote about timing from him. Just a moment. These are King Solomon's words. For everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to break things down and a time to build up, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to keep silent and a time to speak. And as you can see, it would be pretty hard to do all of that at the same time. So what's interesting about all of that is that all these things can be enjoyed, the ups and downs, the throwing away the stones, the gathering the stones together, the dying, the birth, but one at a time, each point in time. So trust, have faith, and above all else, know that with Spirit, nothing is impossible. All things are possible. Thanks, Aquarius. Sorry it was so long. Let me know if it resonates.